contract, it puts pressure on the player to earn it. There is so much pressure on him because he can't be benched. It's hard to cut him. He's the guy. It's all on you. Go out there and justify the investment they made in you.
Well guys, OTAs are officially here. Football is getting back into the swing of things, and before we all know it, the NFL season will be right around the corner. As for the Cleveland Browns, there's an unlimited amount of things we could talk about right now, but I think what everyone is most curious about is Deshaun Watson, who is back to throwing on the first day of organized team activities. You could love this guy, or you could hate him, but at the end of the day, the 2024 season lies on his shoulders, and Andrew Berry and the Browns front office have done everything in their power to put as much talent around him as they can. But anyways, the Browns posted some videos of Watson throwing Tuesday on their social media accounts, and he looked no worse for the wear and tear. He threw some individual drills in what essentially amounts to a passing camp during OTAs and let it fly. By all accounts, he looked great, and felt that way too. I know it's still without pads, there's no defense, but the fact that he was able to put some zip on the ball proves that he wasn't lying when he said he'll be ready to go by week 1. I feel really good, very confident in myself and the process, said Watson. The shoulder has been really well, so just making sure that I don't do anything extra that's going to harm it or anything like that. I think that's the biggest thing. As for the rest of the team, I feel like they might come out and shock many people this season because for the first time in a few years, I feel like there are tampered expectations and so many people have already given up, so they have nothing to lose. And they are just about as talented as anyone, especially when they get Nick Chubb back halfway through the season, even though he himself said he will be back for week 1. Anyways, as for more news, the Browns just recently signed a super speedy receiver in Matt Landers, giving the unit an infusion of speed as OTAs kick off. Despite his solid measurables, Landers went undrafted and spent part of his rookie season on the Seattle Seahawks and Carolina Panthers practice squads. He is labeled as a developmental prospect in his draft breakdown. He spent his first 4 seasons, but Andrew Berry has deepened the receiving unit. It's taken a few years, but the Browns have been able to add some strong depth around Amari Cooper since he arrived in 2022 via trade and has been the centerpiece of the passing game. He is coming off a Pro Bowl season, and he carried the offense last year despite catching passes from 4 different quarterbacks. In total, he racked up 1,250 yards on 72 catches. Moving on, now I want to talk about Nick Chubb, because we just received another update on his rehab progression. Chubb won't be participating in OTAs or minicamp from a team drill standpoint, but he's been around all offseason, rehabbing the knee and providing inspiration to his teammates. He also spent some time during the offseason training at his high school in Georgia and could be back and forth during OTAs, but he's been running for several weeks and looks good. And if all goes as planned, he'll test the twice reconstructed left knee during training camp and work toward a return to the field as soon as possible. I think the Browns are in a pretty good spot with Nick because they really don't have to rush anything since they have Jerome Ford and Foreman behind one of the best offensive line units in the league when healthy. I really think almost anyone could be a good running back behind this offensive line, but obviously not as well as Chubb can. Speaking of that offensive line, they are so due for a somewhat healthy season. The past 3 years specifically have just been brutal. Really, the only guy that has been able to consistently stay on the field is Wyatt Teller. Returning all 5 offensive linemen, really 6 if we consider Jack Conklin as well, who is reduced to a reserve role after the emergence of DeJuan Jones, the Browns have a strong foundation to build from offensively. Also, for a guy who blocks a little bit, but mainly is involved in the passing game, David Njoku really put the NFL on notice last season, and we still really haven't seen him build a chemistry with Watson yet. Most of his production came from Joe Flacco, and even after having a season like he did in 2023, Njoku is still looking to improve and get even better. The number one focal point this year is speed, Njoku said. I'm trying to lose a couple of pounds to be lighter and more explosive. This year, it's speed kills. Considering that he ran a 4.64 40-yard dash at the NFL Scouting Combine as a tight end, the thought of him gaining even more speed could be scary for defenses. Now to switch over and talk about this defense that is looking to repeat what it did in the 2023 season under Jim Schwartz. According to PFF, they have the strongest defensive line in the league. PFF neglected to mention the return of free agent tackles Shelby Harris and Mo Hurst, who re-upped with Cleveland this offseason. The team also re-signed veteran defensive end Zadarius Smith as well, to play opposite of Garrett, and space-eating Dalvin Tomlinson is also back for year 2 of a 4-year deal. Dominant and deep defensive lines are basically a staple of Jim Schwartz-led defenses. There are certainly lofty expectations on the Browns unit to replicate their successes of last season, with many familiar faces and a few new ones manning the trenches on that side of the ball. But one thing that really helped this defense out on top of the defensive line was the cornerback room, led by Denzel Ward and Martin Emerson Jr. But once again, health is just such a big concern because Emerson was asked to step up and be the #1 guy, and even though he was great in that role, it would be something to see this team stay healthy throughout a season. And I know it's football and there's gonna be injuries, but to have over 25% of the roster hurt is just absurd. So it's gonna be interesting to see what happens this season and how the Browns go about things as we start to get closer and closer to week 1. So what are the current expectations for this team? I still do think the Super Bowl window for this current roster is open. The players are young, they have so much talent, but the only thing that they still haven't built is a winning culture, where you just know they are gonna win. As a fan, when you watch them, you still wonder how they are going to find a way to blow it, as opposed to the Chiefs, where like I said, you just know they are going to win, even when down by double digits. It definitely takes time to build a winning culture, but the Browns need to do it soon, because they probably only have about 2 to 3 more years of this talent with everybody in their prime. But overall, I think the Browns are in a great place coming into this season, and the front office knows exactly what they're doing. That's really all I have to say for this video. Thank you all so much if you made it to this point, and if you enjoyed and haven't yet, please make sure to drop a like and subscribe, because your support truly does mean the world. And also, let me know what you would like to see next, and one more thing, follow me on Instagram, because I'm starting to post cool sports content on there every single day. And until next time, I will see you all later.